Hi, I'm Wanda from Alanda Craft, and today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful cushion covers. They're absolutely gorgeous, and you can see here I've got 3 that I finished, and I've also got one down here that I'm in the process of making now. So let's get on and show you how to do this. Now in this tutorial I'm going to be making 2 cushion covers. Now don't halve the material to make one, because the pattern for the cushion cover won't work if you do that. So please just follow through with exactly what I show you. Alright, so what are you going to need? You'll need 8 strips. Now we want 4 contrasting colours, and we're going to cut 2 2.5 inch strips across the width of the fabric of each of those colours. You'll want 2 zips, and these are 14-inch zips. And you'll want 2 pieces of fabric for the backing, and I've cut these at 15 3/4 by 16 3/4. So lay your strips out how you think you want them. Now just keep in mind that these set of 4 strips must be exactly the same. So how you have this 4 set out, you need to have this 4 set out. Now another thing to keep in mind is the way this is going to look. So your 2 outside strips, this one and this one, will form the pinwheel and also the outer border, and the 2 middle strips will form these 2 rows here. So what we need to do now is we're going to place one strip on top of the other and sew it all the way down with a 1/4 inch seam, and we'll do the same with these 2 strips here, put them together, sew them with a 1/4 inch seam, and then we'll join those strips into one row of 4 strips. And we'll do exactly the same with these ones here. Alright, so as you can see I've sewn the strips together, and I'll just show you the back because this is most important. What you need to do is make sure that the seams are all facing the one way. So my outer grey strip here, I've got all the seams running towards there, and on this strip I've done exactly the same. So your strips now should measure 8.5 inches. Now if they're shorter than that or a lot smaller, you need to check your seams and you may have to unpick and start again. So approximately 8.5, and I'm going to cut them into 8.5 inch squares. Now you can do that by using your ruler, or you can use your mat, and we need to cut the whole strip. So you'll cut one square and then move down. To do this I'm actually going to use my shape cut. So I've cut the first strip into squares and I have them in a pile. I'm now going to take the second strip, I'm going to do the same thing, cut them into 8.5 inch squares, and I'm going to put them in a separate pile. Now that's most important that you keep the piles separate. So we have our 2 piles of squares here, and now we're going to slice them. Now it's very important how you do this, so I'll just go through it. We're going to cut them on the diagonal, all in one pile will go this way. So each of these squares will be cut from here to here. Now for our second pile, we're going to cut them in the opposite direction, so we'll cut diagonally across this way. Okay, so I have my 2 piles of fabric here, and remember we cut these ones on that diagonal and we cut all of these on this diagonal. So the first thing we're going to do is take this pile here, and I'm just going to move it aside for now, and then I'm going to take this pile and I'm going to move that aside. Alright, so keep them separate still in their separate piles, and we're going to work with these 2 here. Alright, so what we'll do is we take one from this pile and we take one piece of fabric from this one, and we just lay them down so that they form the 1/4 of a square. So you can see there's our contrasting colours here and here. So now we've got a yellow, so we take another one from our greys and just pop that down there. Take one from this pile and just add it to there. So you can see our square is coming together and our pinwheels are nicely forming. So now we want another contrasting colour, and then we take another one You can see how nicely this is all coming together. Now last of our grey and white spots and the last of our yellow. So there we are, we have our pinwheel nicely formed in the middle, and we have our borders are all alternating, and everything looks really nice. So what I'll do now is I'm going to sew those together, but I'll go through that with you, and then we'll do exactly the same with the other pile. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew these together in lots of 2. So you'll see now why it was important that we pressed our seams the way we did at the beginning, because this will allow us now to nest those seams together so they'll sit nicely. So what I'll do is I'll just pin those on those areas and go and sew that with a 1/4 inch seam all the way down, and I'll do that with each set of 2. So you can see I have my 4 squares joined, and I've ironed the seams open now. That's just to reduce the bulk in the centre. So the next step is to just lay one on top of the other and match them all up, and again making sure that our seams come together nicely and they do nest still, so that's really good. And we're just going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam all the way down there, and I'll do exactly the same with those 2. Okay, so I have those 2 sides sewn together, and now we're going to join the 2 sides. So we'll just go and place one on top of the other, and again our seams will nest because we have our seams going in different directions. So I'll just line all those up and sew all the way down here with a 1/4 inch seam. So our top is finished, and all we have to do now is cut our little tags off from the corners, and you can see here that I have pressed all of the seams open. So what we'll do now is we'll just put that piece aside, and we're going to start working on the back. Now take the piece of fabric that you've cut for the back and just lay it on your mat, and make sure that you've got the piece that measures 16 3/4 along facing you. Because what we're going to do is we're going to cut this through now. Now you can cut it through at 8 3/8, or what you can do is you can simply fold it in half and run your finger down and make a crease and then cut on that line. But it's most important that you're working with this edge here at 16 3/4. So once we've done that, and we've cut it into 2, which I've got one here already, we're going to add a line here at 1/2 inch. And we're going to do that on either side, and you can see here I've already done one. So I'll just lay this down here, a 1/2 inch line, and draw a line. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll just fold along that line and give that a good press, and we'll do that for both sides. Okay, so as you can see I have my 1/2 inch pressed on either side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open them without too much, and you can just overlap them a little, it doesn't matter, because what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to draw a line at 2 inches. You can do it on either side. Okay, and the same at this end. Let's come in 2 inches. 2 inches. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to just pick those up, and we're going to just make sure the edges match. We're going to come down and we're going to sew down to that line, and we're going to back stitch when we get to that line. And we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. We're going to sew down and we're going to back stitch at that line. Okay, so I have sewn along here into the 2 inches, and I've sewn in the crease there, and I've done that here too, come along the 2 inches in the crease. So that leaves it with, we're sewn at the ends, and we have an opening here, and that's where our zip is going to sit. And now I want to measure in 1 1/4 inches from either side. It doesn't have to be exact, but so I come in 1 1/4 there, 1 1/4 here. And the reason we do that is we don't want our zip to extend into our seams, but we also don't want it to fall through the opening. Now we take our zip and we open it out, so we bring the zipper pull down a bit, and we lay it face down so that the zipper pull is facing through that opening. And then we're going to make sure that the middle piece is over that line, so we'll just put that there and we'll put a pin in it. and we make sure that that metal end also is over that line. It doesn't matter if you come forward a little bit more if you find the metal pieces is right on your line, but just make sure that the metal piece is outside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come down and we're going to back stitch across here, and then we're going to line that zip up along that edge, along the edge that we've got turned over under here. So we'll line that up there, and we'll sew all the way down here. Then we'll join, just pull those together again, do a back stitch, and we'll do the same on this side. So just making sure that our zip lines up along the edge of our turned over piece, and that our zipper pull is open and is facing downwards. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to back stitch across here, across the zip, to hold it in place, and then I'm just going to match the zip edge up with the turnover, and I'll sew along here down to the other end. As I get to the zipper pull, I'll just lift the foot, pull the zipper through so that it's out of the way of the foot. When I get to the other end, I'll just turn and do a back stitch. And we'll come down the other side doing exactly the same thing, matching the zipper edge up with the edge that's turned over. And finish with the back stitch. So as you can see, we now have our zip in, and the first thing we want to do is to cut off those excess bits of the zip. So we just get our scissors and cut straight through. Do that at both ends. So we're cutting off those metal bits, and our back stitching is going to stop the zip from coming out. Alright, so we turn that over now, and we need to open our zip. Now this is the most important step because we need to open it more than halfway, and the reason for that is when we put the two pieces together and we've sewn it round, we need to be able to turn our cushion through. So if you don't open that, you're going to have nowhere to put your cushion to bring it through, cushion cover, and you'll have an awfully difficult time. Okay, so let's place the two pieces together. Now what I'm going to do is match up all the edges nicely, and I'm going to sew all the way around the cushion with a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so I have it all sewn together, and what I do on the corners is I like to run off and then do a back stitch when I start off again to come down, just to strengthen the corners. I'm not going to clip them in this instance, I'm just simply going to turn this through, and I'll just push the corners out with my wooden skewer, making sure that I use the blunt end. You can use your scissors or whatever you've got on hand, whatever you normally use, but I just bring that through, and this, now you can see why we left the zip open, so that that comes through nice and easily. So you can imagine the sort of problems you'd have if you had the zip closed. Okay, I'll just give it a quick push. I'm not going to worry too much about this because I'll fix all this up after. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll add my insert. I've got a 16 inch for this one because I want this one to be this set to be nice and puffy. But if you don't want to have a really full puffy cushion, you can use a 14 inch insert. So that's the beauty of that, and it will still look nice. Alright, so let's just quickly give it a press shortly, and then we can, there you go, you've got the zip in the middle there, it sits nice and flat. And there we are, and there's the front. Okay, so there we are, our cushion is finished. Now you need to do exactly the same as we've done with this process to make the other cushion that you've got with the pieces that are left. Now this cushion cover has a 16 inch insert, and you can see here this one has a 14 inch insert. You can see the difference. This is very full and puffy, and this one's a lot flatter. So it's all a matter of personal choice. Now if you've enjoyed this tutorial, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to check out the written instructions at alandacraft.com and find us on Facebook and Pinterest.